Bricks and Minifigs is your one-stop shop for all things LEGO. Hit the link below to find a store near you.
I'm Ian Koegelenberg, and I've been building Technic modern mocks for quite a while, and then I decided this year I'm going to build some trains. So these are 100% Technic trains. The tracks are Technic built, the locos are Technic built, even the switches, which was a fair amount of work. I mentioned to one of the guys this morning I used all 350 of my black 1x15 beams up in this build. I've got some locos from South African old railway lines, and then just mock built some flat cars. And
What are these flat cars here? What is on these?
so on the flat cars I've got a compressor unit, and then I've got a bulk storage unit, and a fuel bunker was just one of them. And then I've built some coal cars, as I've got a coal tipper that I can use to then tip the coal onto a chute and into some cars.
Yeah, and can you demonstrate that for us here? So it's not hooked up to the rest of the layout, but you can at least see how it works.
I can do that for you. So you'll see that the whole car gets tipped into the chute. And then the coal or gravel or rock just goes up the conveyor belt into another coal car. And then that gets moved around to wherever it's needed, yes.
And this is representative of machinery that actually, is used frequently here in South Africa.
Yes, we use that quite a lot. We also have a similar design for crane with grain. So for millies, we'll tip into the silos and on the same principle.
No, I'm glad you were able to at least kind of demonstrate how this works here. I know you've run into some issues with the tables kind of being uneven here. How does that affect all your layout?
The problem with the tables being uneven is you've got a sideways movement and an up and down movement, and sometimes you're unlucky where both of those instances happen at the same time, and then you've got some decent derailments.
And as entertaining as that is to watch, it's just not great for the builds.
No, it's not great, and neither is it great for the builder itself.
But if you want to, you can talk a little bit more about the track. You mentioned it's all Technic pieces. What are the elements you've used here?
The biggest takeaway from this was to get a curve. And the only way that you can get a curve is to build your beams and then add one lift arm in between and one lift arm in between. So you'll see that these curves are all modular with one little lift arm in between each of them, and that gives you a curve. Unfortunately, you can't get a tighter curve for the Technic trains. They just don't like it. There's too much friction and they fall off. Or they stall solidly. Yeah.
So we can take a closer look at some of the locomotives over here then. It looks like we have had a little bit of a derailment, but at least it didn't come off the table. So what are some of the pieces you use in these designs here?
So I've used, I'll turn it like this and then you guys can see, I used quite a lot of my dark bluish grey and yellow color schemes. The old South African railways had those color schemes. So I decided, well, I'm going to use that. It looks nice. And some of the older guys that walked around here this morning that's in the HO railway clubs actually picked up on that. So that was quite nice. And then there's minute details like there's stairs on a little stairway onto the locos. The bogies does work, and it uses both bogies. So if you look at it, it's a four-wheel drive train, which actually works quite nice. The only issue is you can only use these old train wheels for the Technic trains. There's nothing else that works, but because there's no rubber on it, you keep on slipping on the Technic beams. So I printed little technique, little TPU sleeves to go over to just give a little bit of friction, because otherwise these trains would just not move.
What are some of the other challenges of building with all Technic for the locomotives here?
If you look at the standard train sets, there's very nice parts that you can immediately see that's a train part. The bogies, if you look at them, the coupling and decoupling. Obviously, in Technique we don't have that, so you have to brick build everything. And then make it look at least look as closest to the real thing that is available. And the new power up system is too big. The battery box is too big. You can't fit it into this scale. So I had to use power functions. And unfortunately, like all the GBC guys are also moaning, power function motors are just phasing out, so it is a concern, yeah.
You also have some of the switchers here, so if you can explain the design a little bit of that.
So, the switchers actually works on a very simple principle. The motor drives a little rack that is spring loaded or loaded with the elastic bands, and that will move the track in or out, which will make it possible to switch. The complication there is that where your wheels move over or cross the track, you need to lower the track, but you can't lower it too much because then you have a derailment. So that's quite a painful situation. Luckily, the guy that I saw on YouTube that built these had the switches for free. Or the plans that you can get on Rebrickable, and I used these plans and then modified them a little bit until it worked for me.
So how many pieces in the track do you have here? Do you know how many Technic pieces it took to build all this?
I had a rough estimate this morning that I'm close to all the train components together. It's close to 35,000 pieces, because you use a huge amount of Technic pins.
The pins add up quick.
Very quick. If you look at it, there's quite easily 12 to 20 pins in a track section, or a small track section. So it adds up very quickly.
So if someone wanted to try to do this at their local show, it seems like making sure the tables are level would be very, very helpful, if at all possible.
I think tables being level is paramount. Or what I thought of this morning is if I could get rid of the tables and actually build it on the floor. That would have worked a lot better. And then you do need a power point for charging the rechargeable batteries. I've moved away from pen light batteries and AA batteries. It kills the budget.
Those are some good tips there. So thanks for taking us through the layout here, and I'm glad you're at least able to run some of it still, even though it's not an ideal environment. So thank you.
Thank you very much.